Physique Master Podcast. This is Scott Tuzana along with Brian Cron. Today we're going to be talking about the benefits of varying your exercise selection. Now, Brian and I are big believers in taking a look at the big picture. We're big on structure, building systems, and we don't like to change too many variables when we're planning our system, putting together multiple programs over the course of 3 or 4 months. We like to keep a lot of things similar that you can progress on, but we are big believers in varying exercise intelligently. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. Kind of going over how and when we vary our exercise selection. But big thing is why we like to vary exercise selection. So Brian, you want to hit us off? In regards, let's talk about engagement first of all. I think mental engagement is one of the key points for varying some exercise selection.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, performing an exercise well, it's very much it's skill acquisition, and it takes practice, and especially for bodybuilding, like you really gotta learn how to perform these exercises in such a way that you're hitting the target muscles that the muscles you're intending to train. And it takes practice, years of practice, but after a while, it's a very, very good idea to bring in different exercises just to see how they feel. And it never fails to amaze me. I've been training a long time. Like, I'll try something that maybe didn't work for me in the past, or I just didn't feel it, or whatever. I just didn't care to try it. And it'll just be amazing. I'll get this great muscle connection, and kind of, reinvigorates my love for training again. So as a result, the older I've gotten, my exercise menu has gotten progressively bigger, as opposed to some people think you should restrict it as you get older. So I'm on the opposite, man. I think the more you learn, the better you'll be as a physique athlete.
Absolutely. And I think you hear a lot in our group there, especially like new movements to people, like the good morning. The good morning is one that I think a lot of people struggled with. They did it 1 month and they're like, it was a nice change of pace for them. Like, instead of, like, after months and months of doing deadlifts and really progressing on the deadlift, it was time to take a break from that, because it can beat your body up a bit. So we like to change it up, get rid of the deadlift and do some Romanian deadlifts or good mornings. And the good morning was a new movement to a lot of people. They just weren't getting it. And we're like, all right, we took it out. It was one of those, it was just, that was a change. We just wanted to throw some variety in there, mix things up. So when we threw it in again in a program down the road, people are like humming and hot, but then they got it. They just, it wasn't the exercise itself. We started giving different little cues to get them engaged, stance, how the toes are pointing out, and boom, they got it. Like, oh my God, I love this movement. I never felt it in my hamstrings and glutes so much before. So, it's always good to kind of throw it back in there and just play around with it a little bit more for variety.
Oh, and that's a great example, especially a lift like that. You gotta practice them, and it takes a long time to really kind of drill the technique down, so you're feeling it in where you're supposed to feel it, and performing it safely and able to add weight. I think sometimes people expect a little too much too soon, like they should just hop into the bar and perform a few reps and I got this. Whereas, especially a lift like that, it takes a long time to master it. And you might go your whole life and never master it, but it takes a long time to really get good at it. So I mean, so I think there's an element of patience required.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now, in terms of engagement too, like changing your exercises, like, and we're not talking about the whole round, but adding in, keeping the relative structure close and similar. Yeah. Moving on to the next plan, but just throwing in a couple different, swapping out a couple exercises in your plan. It just, because for some people, like, it's been 4 weeks. All right, I know I need to kind of stick to the same structure, same plan. It starts to get a little monotonous to them. But if you just change a couple exercises and they're like, all right, game time. All of a sudden, this plan became more exciting to them. They're more invested in the workout program itself.
Yeah, like in some respects, like a squat is a squat, but even just a little nuance like changing your foot position can totally change the recruitment pattern and certainly how you perform it. And like, let's be honest, like probably 90%, especially of bodybuilding, is your mental engagement, is like how much your focus you're putting on what you're doing. And I think sometimes people tend to go through the motions a little bit, especially once they get these lifts under their belt or once a program becomes a bit of a grind. And whatever you can do to kind of bring up your mental engagement, even if it's like bringing in a new exercise or just subtle shifts in your technique, like as long as to keep your brain in the game that much more, you're going to get better results.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
That's,
yeah.
Totally agree. So it's kind of it's more than just it's fun. Obviously, making a change keeps you more engaged, keeps things exciting and fun. I think that's the big thing. It keeps you learning as well. I think both consistently sticking with certain exercises for a while, you're learning the movements, but getting a new exercise in there, learning a new movement, and seeing how your body responds. So having that engagement, all right, I'm throwing in a new exercise, I haven't done this in a long time, or I've never done this exercise before. Really, it forces you to be in the moment and really feeling how your body's going through the exercise. Where are you feeling it? How can you make subtle little adjustments to improve it more? So I think that just it adds to not only the variety is fun, but it keeps you learning, keeps you on your feet.
Yeah, and like one of my rules I never like to just change things willy-nilly just whenever it occurs to me. I think that's a mistake, but it's a good idea just to take a look at your programming and obviously make sure you have the basic movement patterns accounted for, but seeing where you can include variety in that, like something like a squat, for example. I mean, there's how many different ways are there to squat? You could do a different version every 4 or 6 weeks. Same with a hip hinge, same with a horizontal press, a vertical press, and same with the pulls. Like there's so many different ways to work in variety while still respecting those basic movement patterns. And especially as you get older, man, like little tweaks like that, like changing hand position, it can spare your elbows, it can spare your shoulders, and there's just no need. Like there's no need, especially if something starts to hurt, there's no need to keep beating down that path when you could just make subtle shifts in an exercise and still get the same development, but with much less pain and overuse and time in the chiropractor.
Yeah, huge. So injury prevention is a huge thing when it comes to exercise selection, and a lot of people are really stubborn with the movements. They hear certain exercises give them the most bang for the buck, and so they just stick with that and grind it out, and dealing with nagging injuries, and they refuse to change. When a simple little change, you're going to get a similar response, if not more, because I find, like for example, this past Friday, I was working out with Adam, and it was chest day. We're about to do the incline bench press, but for Adam, the incline barbell bench press really aggravates his shoulder. So while he's doing that, he's thinking more about the pain. The pain, it hurts, how uncomfortable it is, and he's less engaged in movement. So he moves on to, he's like, I'm not going to do that exercise. I'm going to go do the hammer strength incline press instead. Loves it. Mentally engaged, feels the pump, feel the stretch, feel the contraction. He's right into it, pain-free. I went over to that exercise, did that machine, like, fuck, is this uncomfortable? I couldn't feel it. Whereas I get that bar, and I feel the stretch. I can feel the contraction. It's right. So it's, with all these exercises at our disposal, when it comes to injury prevention and just doing finding those movements that feel right for you, you just stick with those and find the ones that work best.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it comes to the difference between, strength training and powerlifting and bodybuilding. Like, if you are not, bodybuilding meaning like physique development, if you are not feeling an exercise where you're quote unquote supposed to feel it, like, ditch it. Like, I mean, try it again, obviously, maybe get someone to show you, so maybe you're just not doing something correctly. But if you are still not feeling it where you're supposed to feel it, ditch it, do something else. And it's, you can be training for 20 years and still you'll happen upon an exercise like that we were talking before we recorded, like, just you like the flying press. I mean, just little
flying press.
Yeah,
that's huge for me. Like that's all these years, decades of training. Chest has always been a weak point for me, and a lot of it has been mind-muscle connection and just.
Yeah.
I always think my form's proper. It's good, but exercise selection comes into it as well. I find a lot of the movements, my shoulders and triceps want to dominate. Whereas I got to this cable fly and press, the mechanical advantage superset that you introduced me to it, and just the fatigue. I really feel the fly. I always feel flies. Like this feels awesome. Then busting right into the press immediately afterwards. The tension I felt in my pecs, the engagement I felt like I was into it. Every rep I felt. That's the beauty of it. And now I feel like the chest is making progress, and it's just overall I'm like, I'm finding simple little tweaks to movements, like whether it's bringing my thumbs in as I'm coming forward, just subtle little changes where I'm like, what a different impact that makes to the feel of the exercise.
Like I've noticed that with a rope press down. Like I used to always do the lift, and I'm thinking back to my my late 90s, my first personal training certification. I remember how they taught us to do a rope press down. It's just a little stupid thing, like just the way you twist your hands to the bottom. But just this year, I just after watching some John Meadows videos, I just standing a little further back and changed the way I press a little bit, and just made all of a sudden I'm getting much more of an intense kind of contraction in my tricep. It's hard to enunciate, but it just feels different, and it just feels more. It feels tighter. It just feels more like I'm in the muscle.
Yes.
And so and that's a win for me. And I mean, it all sounds kind of loosey goosey, but once you're training for bodybuilding, these little things matter. These little cues that kind of set you off on the right path or away from the wrong path.
Without a doubt. Yeah. One of my favorite exercises to kind of finish off the back has been like a straight arm pull down. I love the stretch. I love the feel of the movement. And this year, for the first time, started doing kayak rows. Now, that's very similar to a straight arm pull down with just a little extra contraction at the bottom towards the one side. And holy crap. Now, I think not only do I love the feel of this exercise, not only does it add a new dimension of fun to my training, but also it hits aspects of my lats that I feel have kind of been neglected, the lower aspect of the lats. And I think that's one of the big benefits of including some variety in your training, is making sure that you're hitting all the muscle fibers, that you're hitting all aspects of a muscle. Like the lats it's not like the muscle fibers running from the bottom of my lat all the way up to the top. You got fibers running in different directions all the way through. They don't extend the entire direction. So you got to make sure that you're using different exercises that are hitting all those fibers throughout there. And definitely the kayak row is hitting my lats like they've never been hit before, especially in that lower aspect of the lats. But I love the feel of it. Just completely new.
Yeah, that's a really good example. It's probably no body part quite like lats. Where these little tweaks can really make a difference. I'm not sure why. I guess because it's such a massive muscle and with such a long range of motion. Like some people just changing the way they position for a row and allowing a little bit more range of motion, especially at the bottom end in the stretch position. All of a sudden, they'll report, I'm feeling this in my back as opposed to my bicep. And it's just these little things you discover when you experiment with different variations and different ranges of motion and grips, and I don't know, it makes it fun.
It does make it fun. This is probably why this year has been one of the funnest years of training. Like I said, decades of training, decades under the bar. Yeah. I've learned way more exercises past year than I have in several years combined. Just kind of so used to having my own little arsenal of exercises, my go-to exercise that this broke me out of my little habits. And it's always fun. Sometimes there's exercises where like, holy shit, I used to do that all the time 15, 20 years ago. Why did I stop doing that? You reintroduce it, and you're like, oh man, this is an excellent movement that I completely forgot about.
Oh yeah, man. I rediscovered the concentration curl. I have not done that shit since probably high school. And I just had an elbow injury. That's another thing. It's great for having a great exercise menu is awesome for working around injuries, because all of a sudden when everything hurts, you can kind of find that little variation that feels okay. And yeah, man, I started playing with the concentration curl, and holy shit, they definitely work the biceps. So
it's awesome. Yeah, there's some. Yeah, it's
a funny look. Yeah,
total bro for sure. And yeah, some people might like, oh, it's a waste of time. It's awesome. It's a very effective exercise. I enjoy throwing them in there for sure.
It did the job. So
I love it. So engagement, fun factor, reducing injury. Do we have any other reasons, benefits of varying?
Well, definitely you'll probably get over time, and there's actually research to support this. You like the more kind of you will get probably more complete development by using a multi-angular approach like that. Especially if you have a very limited exercise menu. So I mean, there's benefits that way. In terms of how to do it, though, the key is just not to show up and wing it. It's like kind of having a slightly, have this big menu of exercises and then say, every 4 or 6 or 8, whatever weeks, I shift out different lifts. I mean, that's probably the best way to do it.
Right. Have a core set of lifts that you're going to keep the same and progress on, and then have a couple extra lifts that you'll swap out. Those core lifts you're going to want to progress on for a few months, and then you can swap them out, make a little change here and there just to take a break from them. Give your body, especially like squats, deadlifts, bench pressing, some of those movements most of us can keep in most of the year, but just take a little break from them here and there.
Yep.
But other lifts like a barbell curl or different shoulder variation, like pressing variations, there's so many different things, different ways you can progress, whether it's a dumbbell press, a push press, a barbell press, like there's just so many different ways that you can hit those shoulders. So finding methods that you can progress on, and then just change a few exercises. Don't make drastic changes every month, but mix in a few different things.
Yeah, it's just it keeps it fun, man, and like I always say, probably 90% of this is being engaged and having fun. And
definitely what it's all about for sure. So exercise variety, it's nothing, you don't want to get to the point where it's all about muscle confusion, making changes all the time. It's all strategic, making small changes here and there to keep it fun, exciting, injury-free, reducing injuries. But just being playful, that's what this sport is all about for sure.
All right,
gang. Exercise selection. Hope you gained some insights from that. So again, don't go changing things like crazy, but make some smart, intelligent changes. Catch you next time for another episode of Physique Mastery Podcast.